Good morning, fellow project geeks. Here we are at Storage Cabinet Central, and the problem of the day has to do with putting a lid on this box. Of course, it has to be slanted to sheet rain, and it's not under much of an eaves here, so we want it to be fitted up pretty tightly to the wall so that there's no opportunity for rainwater to leak in here. The other thing that we want is to have it be hinged so that we can use the space underneath the roof for storage. Some nice cushions can go in here. Now the problem, of course, is that if you have a piece of plywood for the roof here and you want to have it hinged, the question is, where do you put the hinge so that it's really flush up against the wall? Any place you put the hinge like this, of course, if you try to have the lid come up, it's going to pinch against the wall, and that just don't work. So what we need is some inspiration. Now, when I want inspiration, I of course always go to the great god of mechanical inspiration, Bayerische Modenwerk. And here, in the trunk of Teresa's car, doubtless, we can find some motivation, some inspiration. Well, at least some golf umbrellas anyway. No, not what's in the trunk. It's over here. It's what opens the trunk. Look at this really cool double articulated hinge with a gas strut. Could that offer some possibilities? Should we just screw one off of Teresa's car and go ahead and use it on the project? I think not. The smart husband would go to the BMW dismantler and he would find a pair of these really snazzy double articulated hinges with the gas struts for $10 a piece. Of course, then he would find out that not much on a car is really rectilinear, so even while this looks like it will just swing straight up, because it's mounted subtly at certain curved angles onto the bodywork, it don't really work like that. So over here we have the whiz-bang mock-up here, which shows the hinge mounted onto the 2x4 as it will be in the installation. However, the 2x4 has to be canted over this way about 2 degrees, and it has to be towed in this way about 2 degrees in order for the hinge to actually raise in a way that holds it the exact same distance away from a fixed plane as we swing it up. Otherwise, of course, it'll bind as the piece of plywood is raised and lowered. So there's going to have to be some belt sanding, basically, is what I'm planning on doing to be able to mount that to a 2x4 out there, one of the rafters, and let's see what that looks like. Alright, now you can see the hinge mounted in place. There's a reference surface next to it here just to demonstrate that the gap, in fact, this gap is the test gap for the back part. You can see that it stays at the same distance away from the vertical surface, which is what we wanted. The front one here is also uniform as it goes up and down. That, of course, is different than the one at the back because it's just the way it is. But if you move the reference surface out of there, you can see the way that the board has been beveled at 7 degrees along here in a reducing manner so that the toe-in is provided so that this front anchor point remains correct relative to the vertical surface. And that's pretty much the installation. So now we can put on the roof piece and see how that goes. Okay, here's the roof installed. As you can see up here, the gap to the windowsill is virtually nil, pushed right up against there. And on the inside, the hinges work as designed. The problem with this is that the hinges, of course, on the car are oriented at pretty much flat. Here in this installation, they're on a 10-degree downslope because of the rafters, so the self-holding feature doesn't work like it does on the car. Of course, when the gas struts are installed, the picture is different because those apply just the extra bit of force necessary to hold the lid in place, even though it is slightly beyond vertical here, as you can see. And voila. We close it down here. Nice, smooth, slow operation. And that, gentlemen, is today's version of the anal retentive engineer's project, how to build a shed.